Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
Long before I married George, I knew he was very ambitious. We weren't engaged yet when he told me about his upcoming important book on the metaphysics of ethics. He always said, "I haven't started it yet, but I'll work on it every night once winter begins." During the day, George works as a clerk, spending most of his time on office work. "I wish you had more free time," I used to say when he talked about his book. "I'm not complaining," he said cheerfully. "Most great books are written by busy men." I believe that if a person has something original to say, they will find a way to say it. He was so enthusiastic when he spoke like this, and his passion inspired me too. When we were together, we only talked about his future. George was not like other lovers who constantly complimented me on my looks or called me beloved every few minutes. Instead, he held my hand and passionately discussed the metaphysics of ethics. Our engagement didn't last long because George convinced me to marry him by saying, "I can't focus on my book until we're married." He was so determined to write his book that I agreed. We went all around London buying furniture. I really wanted a sofa, but George wisely said, "Let's buy a study table instead. It will help me work, and once the book is done, we can afford many sofas." Once, he went alone to buy pictures for the living room. "I bought a study chair instead," he told me later. "I knew you wouldn't mind, my dear, because it's perfect for writing a big book." He even thought about the ink bottle. "In my room," he said, "I often find that my ink bottle is empty. It frustrates me to write with poor ink. So, I think we should buy a large inkstand with 2 bottles." "We will," I replied happily. "And I'll make sure the bottles are always full." "My love," he said warmly as he liked such comments. Every evening, I added, encouraged by his affectionate tone, "You'll find your papers on the table, waiting for you, with a new pen ready." "You'll be a wonderful wife," he exclaimed. "But don't write too much," I cautioned. "You should have set hours. For instance, at 10 o'clock, I'll insist you stop writing for the night." "That sounds like a good plan." "But sometimes, I might be so absorbed in my work that I won't want to stop," he said. "Oh," I replied, "I'll sneak up behind you and take the pen away." "Every Saturday night," he said, "I'll read to you what I've written during the week." No wonder I loved him. We got married on a September day, and our honeymoon was filled with happy talks about the book. George showed his love for me by not starting his big project until after our honeymoon. I told him this often, and he smiled warmly in response. The more I praised him, the happier he seemed. This is called sympathy. Imagine us at home in our cozy house in Clapham. "Will you start writing the book right away?" I asked George the day after we moved in. "I've been thinking about that," he said. "I really want to, but maybe it's better to wait another week." "Don't wait for me," I said anxiously. "I'm waiting for you," he replied. "But it's a shame to waste more time," I said. "There's no rush," he said a bit grumpily. I looked at him in surprise. "What I mean," he explained, "is that I want to plan the book carefully." We had many visitors at that time, and I told most of them about the book. Now I regret doing that. After 2 weeks passed, I insisted on leaving George alone in his study after dinner. He looked a bit sad, but I filled the ink bottles, put paper on the desk, and gave him a new pen. He took it without saying, "Thank you." An hour later, I brought him a cup of tea. He was still sitting by the fire, but the pen had fallen from his hand. "Aren't you sleeping, George?" I asked. "Sleeping," he exclaimed, as if I had accused him of a crime. "No, I'm thinking. You haven't written anything yet?" "I was just about to start when you came in. I'll begin as soon as I've finished this tea. Then I'll leave you to your work, dear." I went back to the study at 9 o'clock. He was still sitting in the same position. "I wish you would bring me a cup of tea," he said. "I brought you one hours ago." "What? Why didn't you tell me?" "Oh, George, I talked with you about it. Look, here it is on the table, untouched. I swear you never mentioned it to me. I must have been thinking so hard that I didn't notice you. You should have spoken to me. But I did speak, and you answered." "My dear, I assure you I did not. This is very annoying, as it has ruined my evening's work." The next evening George said he didn't feel like writing, and I guess I looked disappointed because he got angry. "I can't be writing all the time," he grumbled. "But you haven't done anything at all yet." That is not a very nice way to say it. "But you said the work would be fun." Did I say it wasn't fun? If you knew anything about writers, you would know that even the hardest working writers sometimes can't write a single line. But they have to start sometime. "Well, I'll start tomorrow." The next evening, he didn't seem in a hurry to go into the study. "I'll hang the bedroom pictures," he said. No, you must go and start your book. You really want to see me working on that book. You said you were so excited to start it." "I am." Did I say I wasn't? He walked to the study, closing the drawing room door loudly. About an hour later, I took him his tea. He left the study door open so I could see him on the couch before I entered. When he heard the tea tray, he jumped up and walked to the study table. When I entered, he pretended to be busy writing. "How are you doing, dear?" I asked, feeling worried. "Great, my love, great." I looked at him with doubt, and he blushed. "I think," he said, after drinking the tea, "that I have done enough for one night. I must not do too much. Won't you let me hear what you have written?" He blushed again. "Wait until Saturday," he said. "Then let me put your papers away," I said, as I wanted to see if he had written anything at all. "I couldn't let you do that," he replied, covering the paper with his elbows. The next morning, I counted the clean sheets of paper. They were just as I had put them on the table. This went on for 2 weeks or more. He either guessed that I was counting the sheets or thought that I might start to do so. To stop my suspicions, he put what he called his manuscript in a drawer, which he made sure to lock. I found out that one of my own keys opened this drawer, and one day I looked at the manuscripts. They were 24 pages of paper, without a word written on them. Every evening he added 2 more clean pages to the drawer. When I found out, I was very angry and told him about the deceit. At first, he tried to lie about it, but I didn't let him. Then he said, "The fact is that I can't write by gaslight. I think I will have to wait to start the work until spring. But you used to say that winter was the best time for writing." I thought so then, but now I see I was wrong. It will be very sad for me to stop the work for now, but there is no choice. When spring came, I reminded him that now was the time to begin the book. You are always talking about that book, he said angrily. I haven't mentioned it for a month. Well, you are always looking at me as if I should be writing it. Because you used to speak so excitedly about it. I am as excited as ever, but I can't always be writing the book. We have now been married 7 months, and you haven't written a line yet. He closed the doors loudly again, and a week later he said that spring was a bad time for writing a book. One likes to be outside, he said, in spring, watching the trees become green again. Wait till July, when one is happy to be inside. Then I'll give 4 hours to the work every evening. Summer came, and then he said, It is too hot to write books. Get me another bottle of ice soda water. I'll start the book in the autumn. We have now been married more than 5 years, but the book is not started yet. Usually we do not talk about it, but sometimes he still talks hopefully about beginning. I wonder if there are any other husbands like mine.